that we're doing now. So as most of you are aware, during the continuous release period, these metrics have actually already been under review. So we're kind of streamlining and tweaking the way we're doing this. So we will continue to have the continuous release contributions. However, the way we do our review is probably going to change a little bit, and that's still under discussion. So because there's redundancy in the way we're doing it currently. It goes through the review process twice, and it doesn't necessarily need to do that. However, getting the metrics on the website as fast as possible is the goal. So
cool. Just so folks on the call know, I did start the recording, so we do record these calls.
So basically, don't say anything embarrassing. Is that what you're saying, Matt?
Or if you do, just send me a note and I'll erase it. Which I have done. So I know I haven't.
Good times. Okay. What else do we have? What else do we want to talk about with the release? Anybody have any questions about anything?
No, overall, I think the web page that demonstrates the newly released metrics versus the metrics that had been released prior is better than it used to be. I think it's clearer what are the new metrics and what are the old metrics, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. I really like how that looked. And even though they're not marked as, confirmed or released or whatever, like it's implied because the rest are under review. So you're like, oh, well, that one is clearly already passed. So I like that a lot.
So thanks, Kevin, for all of I know that's a busy time for you, accumulating all those things.
Somebody's got a vacuum cleaner in their house.
Definitely not me.
Yeah.
Doing that. Okay, so let's move on to evolution. Who wants to represent?
We haven't met since the last time because we didn't meet last week. So nothing new to report since the metric release.
Fair enough. I feel like that's going to be the update for a lot of the groups. Nothing to say. All right.
Yeah, I mean, since basically the last time we met was right before the metrics release, and then this is right after the metrics release, and we had the week off for OSSNA last week. So
fair enough. D&I think are in the same boat as that. Is that correct? Someone want to confirm that?
I believe so.
Awesome.
I would say that. I did have a question with D&I. Is OpenStack, this is I guess kind of for Daniel that you're on, is OpenStack going to run their survey again? Do you know?
Ooh, no idea. I don't know.
Okay, I was just, it had come up in a call that I was having earlier today, and I was just kind of curious as to what the state. Okay, if you don't know, you don't know. I'll try to find out.
All right. What about Common? Anything to say there? I don't think that happened either.
Well, it's on the
happening this week.
Yeah, it's every other week, so it's happening this week.
Awesome.
I knew you were gonna ask that, so I was just pulling up the notes from last week. And so I'm stalling while, okay, got them.
I have it in my notes that I'm running them or coordinating the meeting this week.
Yeah, Sean's going to coordinate the meeting this week because I can't make it. But the last one we talked about, we talked a little bit about the release process and got everything kind of cleaned up in the metrics spreadsheet to make sure that we had everything was good. And then we picked a couple of metrics that we're going to work on next. And so I think the next meeting is going to be kind of a working meeting. I know Vinod is going to look at some metrics around forks. Daniel's looking at lines and files. And we're also continuing to work on contributor employer location, which is similar to contributor location, but might be a little bit different. And then we kind of talked about the release process. So that's what we did in Common this week. And then the meeting's on Thursday if anyone wants to join Sean.
Yeah, I'll be there. Because
I'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm reminding you to coordinate it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take pointers from you, Sean. So you better do a good job.
Well, I can't meet the standard that Dawn and Matt set, but I'll do my best.
Anybody have any questions for Dawn or anyone on the Common group? That sounds like a no, so we will move on. What about value? Who wants to talk about value?
Hey, I'm happy to. This is Matt Broberg, one of the many Matts. We had a great working meeting last week while everyone was in a post-event bliss. Georg and I did a working session and just cleared up all the open PRs and responded to all open issues, which is really satisfying. If you're just getting into value, you got to check out the new focus areas. Really happy where these landed. Matt G on point got us to social value, organizational value, individual value, and communal value. And we really think they have a distinct enough category and SMART goal and questions around them where we can continue to refine what value means in the context of CHAOSS. And I really wanted to say thank you to Kevin and Vinod who had pushed for clear focus areas from the very beginning. And it took a while for it to click for me, but Matt kind of guided us through that. So I just wanted to say that to you all. So that's really interesting. And then check out our open issues. There are a couple, there's one minor update on a release candidate for SCMS, and then a couple new proposals that are early stage, one on developer per dollar and another one around popularity. So really welcome feedback, and we're next Thursday for the next meeting. That's it for us.
And I'll add to, even with the restructure of the focus group, all prior released metrics still have a home within the new structure. So nothing was lost in terms of prior work.
Good call.
That's really awesome. I wish my internet, I tried to join that meeting, but my internet connection was unstable and I just couldn't get it to work. So I'm glad that you all were able to make some use of that time. That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth.
I'm definitely going to check those out because I'm really, really interested in that.
And I missed that meeting because I felt like all the meetings are canceled because of the conference, and I missed this one particularly.
Didn't expect it to happen, neither did I. So
it's all good. It's all good. All right, if nobody else has anything to add, we'll just move on to risk. Sean, you want to talk about that, or someone else?
Same thing.
No meeting. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Fair enough. We're just zipping right through this agenda.
It's an
awesome.
Unusual time after the week off.
Yeah. And it coincided with the release. So I think a lot of the efforts were right on the release.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Let's see. All right. Augur. Let's move on to software updates. Sean, what's going on with Augur?
Augur has a lot of great contributions from our Google Summer of Code students related to GitLab workers and machine learning workers. There's a number of students doing computational linguistic kinds of work and starting to push things into Augur. So we're going to do a release today or tomorrow, and pretty exciting to do some advances in our contributor logic and a lot of fine tuning of our worker architecture. So it's a pretty exciting milestone for us, and I'll send a note to the list when we actually get that release out the door. I made the last pull request last night, so just waiting for it to be reviewed.
Do you have are you building out new data collection workers?
Yeah, those are the GitLab workers. That's part of the Google Summer of Code work, and actually one of the reasons why we sort of streamlined and refactored our worker architecture is to refactor out the things that we've discovered through building data collection that are common across everything, and keeping the specialized work just in the specialized workers. So Gabe spent a lot of time on that, and Carter spent a lot of time doing the work to make Augur much easier to install and run.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yep.
Sean, do you want me to put that in the weekly newsletter? I can put a little
that'd be great.
Okay. I will do that. That goes for everyone, by the way. If there's something that you want to put in the newsletter, just send me an email and I'll stick it in there. No worries. Let's see. Anybody have any questions for Sean besides the questions that you've already addressed? Okay. What about Grimoire Lab? Is Georg on the call?
I am here. Yes,
okay,
I joined late.
Oh, you appeared.
Yes,
we summoned him
appears. I'm teaching the Brandeis open source community course in the hour before this meeting, and so I will be joining late as there may be questions by students after. So Grimoire Lab, I know that the Google Summer of Code students are doing amazing work. Venu is putting together the quality models, and you might have seen it on Twitter. It's looking very promising. And then we have
what are the quality models? What is that?
Oh, just being able to define quality models and having a user interface for that in Grimoire Lab, so that you can, you have the metrics like number of commits, number of issues, whatever, and you can combine them to bigger numbers and define a category or quality of evolution. And then you can have evolution is good or not good. That's how I imagine it works. We'll see when he actually presents the work. This is what we presented in San Diego last year.
Okay.
That sounds awesome.
And then the other work that is going really well is the social currency metric system implementation that RIA is implementing. And we're looking forward to piloting this work. Ruth Cheesley from the Magic community volunteered to work with us, and Elizabeth Barron volunteered to do this for the CHAOSS project. So super excited about that.
You and me both. I can't wait. So my degree is in organizational behavior. I love this stuff. I think it's super interesting. So I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It'll be cool.
Quick comment here with kind of a side project related to Grimoire Lab. So Alberto and me, we have started a side project. This is so far in beta area, but the goal is to move this to Grimoire Lab. The idea is that there are certain metrics that are, for any reason, hard to have in Grimoire Lab and so on. So our goal is to contribute with a bunch of use cases that are implemented in notebooks in a way that we can, I don't know, for instance, there was some interesting discussion about the elephant factor. So for the elephant factor, as this is structured, as the indexes are structured and so on, it's a bit hard to have those in Kibana directly, and we need to have kind of a new index and so on, so a new database. So the goal is through certain and easy data transformation, we can have those really quick. So some factors that are already in the community in CHAOSS, as sparse factor, elephant factor, and so on. So the idea is to implement them using this technology. So and based on it initially in these indexes already provided by Grimoire Lab. Still a side project, so more things to come.
Is this is this an old conversation? I feel like, because this is like the idea, is this about providing use cases that you have seen in practice? Like, here are the collection of metrics, and then you as a different company may be at least moderately interested in this use case.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a notebook that you can deploy. Is that?
Yeah, it's kind of the next step. So I remember we had this conversation about having use cases instead of metrics and so on.
Yep.
Because this is higher level, so then we can have some higher level discussions perhaps. So now we have found that might be useful, like having those use cases implemented. And now the implementation is.
Yep.
So we are trying this. I don't know if this will bring certain value, but just as a comment here and as a side note.
Yeah.
So I've loved this idea from the start, that if say whether it's Augur or Grimoire Lab, so if folks at Bitergia are seeing a particular use case that's being asked for in practice, and here are the set of metrics that can help shed light on that use case.
Mm-hmm.
So like if Grimoire Lab is seeing that, or Bitergia is seeing it, or Augur is seeing it, being able to provide at least that initial template to people who might relate to that use case.
Those are the things that we've put in Jupyter Notebooks. And so we'll be, I think we'll release those with this release. We have some releasable versions.
So we might want to think, about how those would be released. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in our case so far, this is out of Grimoire Lab. So we want to bring to produce something, and then we would like to have that conversation, because maybe it doesn't make sense. I don't know. So once we have something, we can say, hey, we have this.
Yeah.
Useful.
Sean, did you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we've worked with a few folks to build out some Jupyter Notebooks that are shareable. And Andrew Brain, is his real name, is one of our developers who's been making them reusable. And I think we have them in such a state. Now I'm talking to him at 1 o'clock to kind of go over that and double check.
So, I mean, would it be worth thinking about something, you know how we do obviously the metrics release, say every 6 months, we did like a use case release. Is that, or like a notebook release?
It's like I mean, I think it depends on how you scope a use case, but the notebooks generally are around, here's a specific set of related questions I have to ask.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that would, I mean, I don't know. I mean, from an Augur perspective, I think we would just release that as software periodically, and it's informed by how people are taking up and using the different CHAOSS metrics. Whether, like when you say release cycle, I don't know that there's a standard set of, I mean, I don't know. It's probably worth discussion. It's probably worth discussion to see if there are, and the concrete examples that we share might be a place to start for that.
Yeah, I can see a very MVP of this, just getting those notebooks into, even if we throw them all up into, like, it could be a personal repo of yours for all I care, Sean. Like, just get them all into one place and like catalog what we have. I don't actually know what the deliverable might end up looking at, but I'm really interested in that because I find so much value from exploring data through Jupyter.
And I've kind of driven the process towards outputting visualizations with captions.
Oh, very cool.
So, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything. And so that it actually puts out PNGs as well as the Jupyter Notebooks. You can run it in the Jupyter Notebook, but you can also just consume the PNGs.
Nice. Anyway, sign me up for if you end up exploring that further.
Well, I mean, we're gonna, well, when we release Augur, I will make sure that I send an email note out to the list. We'll be today or tomorrow.
So just a quick comment. So the main rationale for this in Grimoire Lab is that it's
labor investment.
Oh, okay. It has certain cost to create a new index
for
new stuff. So then
absolutely.
The idea is that having these notebooks might be easier to consume existing data, persistent data that we have in the databases. So that's why we can create this. So then transforming data in a notebook is something really cheap, let's say, in terms of time. And you don't need to create all of the tool chain to have a proper dashboard at the very end.
Yeah.
Then there are specific tooling nowadays so we can create even dashboards on Jupyter notebooks if needed. So voila, okay, and some others. So that's the main thing here. And
in each of these cases, whether it's Augur or Grimoire Lab, the notebooks would be built based on experiences that you have with folks in the world, right?
Yep, questions that people want to have answered.
Yeah, so to me, that's a huge win because you're basically saying, listen, these are the notebooks that basically helped other people answer these sets of questions. And if you as a newcomer have a similar set of questions here,
here you go, take a look.
Yeah, here you go. It's already prepared for you. And it may not answer everything, of course, right? It won't totally slot into the context, but it's an easier way than consuming metric by metric, like looking at the released metrics or just downloading a piece of software that doesn't have these notebooks available, right? This is a way to bring those two together. So I've liked this idea forever because it's based on experience.
Yeah.
All right.
Do y'all want to put an action item with this somehow, or like what next? What do you want to do next with this? Because I hate for this to kind of get lost in the.
I think it'll be each tool chain sharing what they share is the next step, and we'll share something from Augur this week.
In our case, it's going to take a bit longer. So we want to produce something in the first place and then share this with the community, and then it makes sense have this as a new project in CHAOSS. I mean, Grimoire Lab, whatever. So we go for September probably.
Okay, so the discussion of a regular release cycle is a little farther out then, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes total sense. Cool. Anything else to add to that conversation? All right, well, let's hop into the program updates. So let's start with badging. Hooray, Matt Snell.
Okay, so hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so badging would be starting pilot testing this week, which means that the process has been developed significantly in during the previous month, and now it's ready for getting real people in and assigning them roles. So for this phase of pilot testing, we are taking in volunteers for 2 roles, which would be applicants and reviewers. There's also the moderator role, but I would be doing that job for now. So this program is about filling out details about an event or a project, and then getting it reviewed by real people and getting badges assigned to it. And these badges can be displayed in places where people might see it. So we are taking volunteers through, there will be a thread on the mailing list shortly after this. And you can also email Matt for this. Okay. Matt, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so we spent some time building out some guides, specifically for the testing, how to go about submitting a project, a mock project or event. We've also taken some time to build out how you review the project with their current framework. ASA has been very diligent in creating bots and getting them tested for working conditions, and we're really excited. It looks like it's going to be Friday and ending on Monday, the following Monday. So we have a few days of testing, and then we're ready to make improvements after that with the feedback that we get. So yeah, we're excited, and just reply on the list or email us for if you need to get involved with this, if you want to get involved with this.
I'm happy to take part in the testing. Any chance you could not do it over the weekend?
Yeah, we could start on Monday if that's better for people.
Or could you just, I don't know. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, so what are the dates then? So you're starting it on Friday, the July 10th, and then it's like 2 days later you're ending it, or like a weekend?
At the beginning of the 10th to the end of the 13th. So it'd be about 4 days if you round it up. But we could also start on the next Monday and end on Friday if that sounds more ideal for people.
You'll get more of my attention that way.
I was going to say that would be better for me too.
Okay.
Selfishly, yeah, thanks.
Okay. So also we can connect after this meeting if that's okay, and we can talk about that and I'll move the dates a little bit.
Sounds great. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Asta. I do have one kind of question on the badging program. I mean, it's been moving forward really positively. It's probably getting to be time where, under the assumption that the testing goes well and, you know, finds problems that can be remedied, about how we think about recruiting people to help participate in the review process. So at some point we're going to need human people, real people, to actually take a look at the applications and work with the applicants to, say, make sure their code of conduct is displayed properly so that they can earn a badge through the process. So
that's an important thing to bring to the table. We don't have a formal system for that yet, but that's good.
Okay.
Well, we got a few people who were interested in being reviewers during the OSSNA presentation.
Okay.
I haven't looked, so it's probably there somewhere, but do we have like guidelines written up somewhere for a reviewer to know kind of what to do, essentially, like a training or guidelines, something for them?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
There are 3 guidelines: reviewers, applicants, and the moderator guidelines. So
we do have documentation as well for how to review, and the reviewer, when they provide a review, there's a checklist that they go through of what they're looking at in the project or event, and and they also, specifically for events, we choose what applicable metrics can apply to that event based on the size and scale of the event. So we have a good. I think we have a good system in place for like guiding the reviewer through the process, and as well as guiding the submitter. I think someone who is submitting could actually use more help than the reviewer sometimes. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions for Asa or Matt? All right, I guess we're moving on. Good job, you guys. That's just awesome. Really great work. Matt, Matt G, sorry. Yeah. Do you want to talk about the community health report?
Yeah, so over the last couple weeks, we've been working with folks at the LF to help the process of creating the health report. And I think we're pretty close to being done in terms of things like, you know, what the GitHub URLs should be in terms of analysis, the repositories to analyze, the time frame to analyze. So I'd say everybody's been extremely helpful, and this is connected through their Salesforce system. So the request would come in essentially through a form at the Linux, managed by the Linux Foundation via their Salesforce system. And it would email a couple of select folks that just say there's a new report request, a community health report request that has come out. We still have to determine what the metrics will be. So at the moment right now, it's really just the process by which a request can occur. And then once we decide what the metrics can be, that should be independent of this report request. So, because we can just modify that pretty easily. I think we were going to end up putting the report request on the CHAOSS webpage. Is that right? Do I remember that correctly?
If they allow us to, like, we ask the requester if they want.
One of the questions, yeah.
Yeah. So as long as they're cool with it, we're cool with it.
The request? No, I'm saying the request, like give me the, can I have a report request? Were we going to put that? The form on the webpage?
The form, yes, that was discussed.
Yeah, we're still proofing it, but yes.
Okay. So honestly, everything's coming along pretty nicely. I think the biggest issue that we're going to have to work through is how what the metrics are and how the tooling works in the back end to produce the reports in a timely way for folks. So pretty happy about it.
I have a repo, so we could just probably start dropping general issues in that, don't you think?
Probably so. Just in terms
as we think of things, yeah.
Yeah, what the metrics can be.
Yeah.
And then the integration with Salesforce, we can ask if folks, when they're requesting a community report, if they don't mind being contacted in the future with respect to OSS or CHAOSS.Con events, things kind of in the future. So we can start using the Salesforce system at the LF to help with community management and community recruitment for our events. And people, of course, can opt out of these things, but so I'm pretty happy about that.
As am I.
Yes.
Anyone have questions about that for Matt or any of us? Nope. Okay. Let's talk about OSSNA. What kind of updates do we have? What came out of that for people? Just
it was my first virtual conference, and it was different.
That's good, thrilling insight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't know. It's like I was pretty sort of disoriented by it. Honestly, it was a strangely hard thing for me to get my head around participating in. But I know my strengths and weaknesses for trying to do it the next time now.
Yeah, there were definitely lots of things that didn't work very well, like the booths, for example. I think that was a bit of a ghost town, a bit of a disaster from a kind of a company standpoint. But there's one thing that I really liked a lot better, actually, in the virtual platform, because I liked that I recorded my talk ahead of time. And so I could just answer in Slack questions the whole time. And then the discussion continued for like the hour afterwards. And because it was in Slack, you didn't have this. So I always feel awkward after a talk because there's like this little queue of people who want to talk to you. And then you feel really rushed because you know, there are more people you should talk to. So you kind of rush through with everybody. And with this, you're answering multiple questions in parallel, and there are other people in the chat who are answering the questions for you. And so you kind of take some of the pressure off. And so I really liked having the Slack channels that were devoted to a particular track, so that you could just kind of hang out there and you could, you know, have side conversations about the talks. You could, you know, ask and answer questions. And that bit I really liked a lot better than the real world experience.
Yeah, that I agree. I think they should keep the Slack channel even if they go to an in-person event. I think, because I mean, like, if you're rushed to get out of the room because you need to get out of the room for the next speaker, and then some people are actually shy about coming to you and asking questions. So I think it was a good learning. I think that they should definitely keep that for real events. I mean, in terms of the platform, I thought it was pretty nice from an attendee standpoint when you're attending sessions, but I'm sure Don and Georg, you had to deal with this. As a presenter, I thought the platform was not very ideal. I mean, unfortunately, I had to do my session with the co-presenter live rather than recording it. And, you know, like you were dialed into a phone and like, I didn't see the purpose of that. It was like really, really funky. And then, I mean, I felt bad for you, Georg and Don, because, you know, if you have more than one speaker, like even with two speakers, it was like really cumbersome as a presenter, so that's not ideal. But I know they evaluated. I don't think it was a joke. They evaluated like 100 different platforms, and they all have problems, right? So I really felt for the event people. And going back to Sean's comment, it was really confusing as to whether I'm at an event or if I'm working, because I'm still in my home office. So it's like if I'm at a convention center in Austin, like I can dedicate my full attention to being on a conference, even if I'm distracted with email or Slack. But this was just really, really, it was easy to get pulled into something at work because I'm just sitting in the home office. But yeah, it was strange. But
And then from a content perspective, I thought that our succession planning for the open source movement panel went really well once we got over that initial hurdle of whether we're live or not, because it was super confusing. Like the 30 minutes leading up to that, we had all kinds of technical difficulties. It was a disaster. But once we got started, I felt like it went really well, and people were really engaged in the Slack channel, and people seemed really interested in it. So I was really happy with it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that session. We had a good conversation, and we always had questions coming, and it really added a lot of great insights. And then the other thing to reflect what was already said is I was pulled into the different platforms that were live at the same time, because you no longer had to choose which physical room to be in, who you are around with. So there are always conversations going on, and just being pulled into those many different places, very different. And then, but I did find it useful to connect with people who I didn't know. So that worked since that is one thing that I do when I go to conference, get to know new people. But I just scheduled follow-up meetings for this week because during the conference there was just no time to set aside and grab a cup of coffee.
I did. This is I think it's my third open source summit, and my first one that I done a presentation at. And after the presentation, we talked about badging for a while, and I still have that feeling of like I presented at the open source summit. It's like a milestone for me, and like I still got that feeling of like, wow, I just presented at the open source summit, even if it was online, you know. So I don't know. I just wanted to add that a little bit, I guess.
Good job, Matt.
Yeah, well done.
Anyone else have any feedback or something that they want us to, besides, I see that Matt G put in the agenda that when we do the next CHAOSS.Con, that we should consider having those Slack channels just to keep the Q&A and the conversations going. But if there's anything else that you think of that you really enjoyed from this conference, just make a note somewhere, send it to somebody. I don't know, send it to, I guess, Matt G or me or somebody, just so we kind of remember that was a good experience that we want to try to recreate for our attendees if and when that ever happens again. So yeah, while it's still fresh in your mind, but that'd be good. All right, we have 5 minutes left, so let's jump to mentorship updates. I really want to hear about our updates from Google Summer of Code students. So let's see, personal and quality models. Who wants to, oh, there's noise around me, so I can't speak. Okay. Okay, so if anyone puts in some notes for us to just read really quick. Completed the initial work on enrichers, performed a small pilot study on a set of GitLab.org projects. Postal results were good. I made a dashboard. Awesome. Wow. This is great. So everybody could take a look at those. If you're in the agenda, you can obviously follow along. Thinking of conducting a total pilot study on all the projects of GitLab.org. We'll share the results on all of the projects. Wow, that would be really interesting to see. So if anybody has any questions, drop them in the agenda, I guess, and they will get answered.
And I think were the mentor reports due?
Yep, we did those last week, and so we had our first mentor report and mentee report.
Yep, and thank you very much to all of the mentors for getting them in time and completing them.
I'll put some links in here for the Augur later. We have 6, and we have 3 doing machine learning, computational linguistic work, 2 doing GitLab data collection and test writing, and then 1 person doing large scale network analysis. And I don't think any of them are on this call due to time zone issues, but there's some really excellent work. We got a really great group of students this year, like we've always had, but 6 is definitely keeping me busier than I was last summer.
Okay, let's move on to outreachy. I think that's Tola, is that right?
Yep.
Looks like Tola put some notes in for us. Oh, go ahead, Tola.
Yeah, hello everybody. Okay, so far I've been able to integrate the localize API with Markdown files. So I've attached, I documented all the processes here. Then, so the way the API, these command line works is you, instead of doing the translation process manually, you could easily work with the command line. So you could add, remove, and sync your content that you want to translate. So I also attached the kind of like some images about the localize UI, the translation process. There's the last link there of how the overview, the overall overview of the localized dashboard. Yeah, so moving on, looking kind of researching on how I could integrate the translation, the I18Next framework using GitHub Actions, so it could be linked into GitHub. Yeah.
That's really, really great work. Does anyone have any questions for Tola about that?
I'll have a question, but I'll ask it in a different meeting or online as we're approaching the end. So
Okay.
Thank you, Tola, for that.
Okay. All right, we have maybe, do we want to take a couple minutes just for the Google Summer of Docs? Because I think that's important.
Yep.
So go for it, Jaskrat.
Hey, hi. So I completed my long proposal for the Google Season of Docs, and I submitted my proposal, but I was finding some difficulties while submitting through the Google form, which they have asked. But I'm already in the touch with the Google support team, GSOT support team, including the George in the thread, so that he could know the what actually the scenario going on. So probably I would be able to hear from them soon and would update on this. And I have been like, once I like this particular thing gets resolved out, I would be moving further to find out the ways of creating and collecting some data needed for the community wide handbook. So like a help would be appreciable, like how I can go ahead with collecting the information which needs to be placed in the community wide handbook. Maybe it be a survey kind thing, interview, or some like a one-on-one conversation with some of the community members. So yeah, this is the just update from me myself.
Thank you. Thank you for that. When
Yes,
is
thank
the
you.
deadline? When's the deadline for that?
Deadline for the GSOT is 9th of July. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah.
So even like I'm too afraid, like if I don't receive the response in the time, I need to figure it out the way. But I make sure like I have put up my the exact formatted proposal link to the Google Forms. So in case if I missed out writing my proposal in the plain text which they have asked in the Google Form, but the mentors and the other committee members can go through the formatted proposal over there with the link I have put.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. If
So
you
this
need
is an issue
help,
with Google, is that right? Not us.
Yes, yeah, they are
Okay.
having some kind of bug at their end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Yep. And Venu put in the Google Doc also a gentle reminder that anyone else interested in Google Season of Doc, please make sure that you submit before the deadline in 2 days. Oh, and also we have a process of having, we ask a pull request to one of our repositories. Please add your name to our Google Season of Doc interest markdown page.
awesome. And then I think I said Google Summer of Docs. I meant to say Google Season of Docs. So confusing.
It's totally okay.
Darren, did you have anything else to add besides what you put in here?
So I made a regarding the GSOT proposal. I submitted the GSOT proposal and also I submitted the Google form. And Matt and Asta verified my proposal and they came up with some points that I was lacking in the document. And thanks for the correction, Matt and Asta. And in the process of exploiting the correct platform for the documentation, I tried putting I tried importing the existing documentation into the Gitbook platform, and I made a small demo. I include the link in the agenda. I will share the link in the chat also. And yeah, that's it.
Cool, we will definitely take a look at that. That's wonderful. All right, I think that wraps it up for today. Anybody have anything last minute? It's your last chance to speak.
Good to see everybody.
You too, Matt. It's good to see you too.
Thanks.
Like
I
silence.
needed that.
Like you got nothing back from that.
Yeah, whatever, Matt.
I guess I will say something quickly because it's the first meeting I'm joining, so I just want to say hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm
Welcome.
Sophia. I work at Google, and I've just started to work with Jorg and Daniel to try to onboard Liturgia as a vendor for Google. So I will be leading a lot of our own internal metrics creation process. So I figured it was time to start getting involved in CHAOSS.
Nice to meet you.
Hooray! Yay! All right. Well, is there a contact or anything for you, or Sophia? You have the list of all the meetings. Any do you know where to find all that stuff? I guess. Okay.
can sign up for the mailing list. I'm now going to try to attend weekly meetings and get to understand the working groups a bit more to see where I should get involved.
Awesome. And if you go to CHAOSS.Community.July.7.2020, you'll see all the Zoom meetings that we have, because we do that pretty often. So yay, hope to see you around. All right, everybody, see you later. Have a great day, and bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.